Hi friends, as you can see behind me, my dahlias have started to flower. I've never had them flower this early on in the year, but they pretty much started flowering on the 1st of January. So that's so exciting. And this little patch here, I didn't take any of the tubers out before winter. I left them in the ground. I put a big biscuit of straw on top of them, and this kept the frost from damaging them. So basically the frost will turn them into mush. And I'm really excited to see that they survived. But I'll definitely be splitting these tubers up this year because, as you can see, the tubers are probably quite tightly compacted here. I didn't do any pruning of these plants before they started flowering. I've just let them go and do what they want to do. And I'm so excited to see I've got some flowers now. So I'm going to prune a few other things around my garden and ask my eldest daughter to put a bouquet together because she's just a magnificent natural florist. She's so good at putting flower arrangements together. So I might pick a few different things, take them into her now, and we'll see what she comes up with. My youngest daughter came out here on Christmas Day to collect some greens and flowers for my eldest daughter and for herself to put together for Christmas Day decorations. And my youngest harvested some of this beetroot that's going to seed, and it looked magnificent in the vase. So I'm going to try and find some of this in this tangled mess here to cut for Charlotte to put in this bouquet of flowers. There is so much of this here, so much seed, that I'm quite happy to take some of it off here. It's not going to be detrimental to the amount of seed that I end up harvesting. Okay, I'll let Charlotte come out here and get more if she chooses to do so. But I'm going to take this inside and I'll show you later what she came up with. The first sunflower looks a little bit sad, but the second sunflower looks amazing. And here's what I think will be number 3. I've been a little bit sad that I haven't got the amount of sunflowers I wanted to have in my garden. I wanted to have a big wall of sunflowers like I did a few years ago, but I didn't end up getting the sunflowers in the ground, the seeds in the ground, or the plants sown in time. However, saying that, there is still time. I could still plant a whole lot of seed and get some later sunflowers. So my plan is to try and do that if I get my act together. But my main objective today is to get the last of my seedlings in the ground. So I've got a new pile of manure that has arrived. I'm very excited. We all get really excited about poo, don't we, as gardeners? We get really excited when we get manure and compost and things to feed our soil and then essentially feed our plants and grow our food from. So I'm going to go and get a wheelbarrow. of that manure, and I'm going to set up another space that I can plant these seedlings into, but also put some more sunflower seeds in. So wish me luck. I'm hoping to get all of this done today and tomorrow morning before I have to go off for my first shift tomorrow at work. Ta-da! And here is the wonderful manure pile. This is cow manure, friends, cow manure. We all get so excited when we get deliveries of manure and compost. And I'm really, really excited to have this fresh batch of cow manure on our property. It is quite a walk to my veggie patch, but we wanted to keep it out of the way for when we have the earthworks. People come here and do lots of work around my veggie garden. So I needed to pop it all the way out here. So I'm going to be doing a lot of steps between my veggie garden and this load of manure, but that's all good. It's all great exercise for us gardeners. All right, I'm going to head off and find my husband because he's going to help me fix 2 irrigation lines, 2 rows that have only had 1 irrigation line on them for many years now. And I need to get the lines sorted because the veggies really need the water. We're not going to have any rain for weeks, it looks like. So I really need to get the water to my veggies. And that sun has already got quite a kick to it. So we shall see how long I last out here, but I'm hoping to get all those plants in the ground. Fingers crossed. Let's see how I go. I need to clear these lines, but the pump's no longer on, so the water's not coming through fast. So I'll have to clear some of these lines later, but I was clearing the ones in the other bed and all this brown water was coming through. So it's good to clear the lines every now and then when you're pumping water from a dam. And I try to do this as often as, well, I remember to really. There's a bit of a breeze now, which is quite nice because it was getting quite warm leading up to our lunch break. And I kind of left lunch a little bit later than I normally would. We stopped at 1:30 and 8 and I was feeling quite past it by then. But I'm pretty happy with what I've achieved this morning in my garden. I've managed to tie up all the tomato plants and the cucumbers, and I've pollinated the zucchinis. I should show you the zucchinis. There was a zucchini plant sitting right where I've got the camera. However, this is what I came out to after we had those really strong winds. I believe it's the wind, unless something has chewed it off at the base. This was looking quite nice. Quite disappointed that this has happened, but this section here is sort of in the elements or in the wind. It doesn't really have any wind breaks right here. So I'm not going to plant another zucchini here. I've lost 2 from this section, 1 from a chicken and 1 from now what I suspect is the wind. So I've been pollinating these as often as I can. This one I didn't quite get to pollinating, so I imagine this one won't succeed. And this one here has another male flower here. So you can tell the male flowers because it has a thin stem, whereas the females have the fruit at the base of them. So I've pollinated this one as well with another male flower that I found. And this one's doing quite well as well. I just need to cut out the container that I have around it that I put in. I managed to get these ones off before the plants got too big. But now this one is way too big to fit the guard around it just off. So I'll need to cut down one side. I'll still be able to use it, like reuse it again. But yeah, I can't get it off without cutting it. Here are the first few flowers on this sweet pea here. I was completely worried that I would have no pumpkin plants or no pumpkins this year. But with all of the random pumpkins that have come up from the compost, I think I'm going to be fine because I didn't get any seeds planted, but nature has given me some gifts of some beautiful big pumpkin plants growing. I've got quite a few vines now, so I'm very excited and very appreciative of the compost that has now turned into this beautiful jungle of vines, along with some sunflowers, and of course I've got all the corn growing in this section as well, and some random potatoes too, which I could probably take the potatoes out so my corn can thrive. Last year I grew 166 kilos of tomatoes. I'm pretty sure that's the amount. Let's call it 160 kilos. And that was just enough to feed us fresh tomatoes, to make tomato paste, enough for a whole year of tomato paste using, and to bottle up almost a whole year of tomatoes. Now I'm hoping that I get a good amount of tomatoes from my plants that are growing along this Rio and along another Rio in my other garden bed over there. I'm hoping it's enough, but I do have one more punnet of tomatoes to plant, and I'm going to plant those later today, and hopefully they will have enough time now to get to fruiting before we have our first frost. But I do have some small tomatoes coming up on these vines behind me and in front of me here. It's very exciting to see, and I can't wait to pick that first tomato. Like last year, I'm keeping on top of pruning my tomatoes to get the most out of them and tying them up onto the Rio as well, because I don't want them to go wild like they have in previous years, where I've had to try and stake them later on, or I've either ended up with a jungle of tomatoes growing along the ground and then some of them go rotten. So I am trying to keep on top of the pruning and the tying up, and so far so good. I have got a few random ones coming up all by themselves in some areas of my garden as well. It's really important to me to get all of my plants in tonight before the night is over. Tomorrow is going to be 27, so that's a cooler day, but then we're going to be having a heat wave, and we're going to be having from 35 to 41 degree days. So I need to get things in. I need to get them mulched so that the moisture gets kept in the soil. But my issue now is that I don't have any room left on my Rio lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant them in my rows that don't have any structure, and I'll just stake them with some stakes eventually, and that's how I'll keep them up from the ground. So I'm going to go and head inside because I've got a few things to do in there, and it's getting quite hot out here. Then I'll come out later tonight and get those tomatoes in. Just a quick one. We picked up some apples that had fallen off one of the trees, and this one actually tastes quite nice. You want some? Yeah. No? Oh, that bit's yummy, eh? You want some, Luna? Hi, friends. Well, it is the next day, the next morning. I'm about to go to work in about an hour. So I've just come out here to plant the tomatoes. The last tomatoes finally are in the ground. They are a bit close to one another, but I'm sure this will be fine. It is what it is. I have got a couple more tomatoes inside, which aren't looking as good as these ones. So I might plant them later tonight, but I'm glad to have all my tomatoes in the ground, pretty much, unless I plant some more tonight. So today's going to be a nice 27 degrees, and then we're going to be having a heat wave. So I really wanted to get these in the ground, let them establish a little bit before that heat comes. And this sugarcane mulch will definitely support them through the heat because it'll keep the moisture in. I have got some eggplants to get in the ground after I finished putting this down. I've of course got a wheelbarrow of cow manure that I'm now adding to the soil before I'm planting. And I'm just going to plant my eggplants in the next row over. Not much has grown in this section here except for weeds and some poppies and calendulas. So I will put a small amount of manure down because those plants would have taken some of the nutrients up when they grew. But one thing that's going on with this garden bed is that it's a bit too wide. So it's a bit too close to the apples. We, for some reason, made it a little bit wider. So I'm going to make sure I plant this way because I'm going to take out about a foot of the dirt from this side. And we've finally got 2 lines in this row now. We've never had 2 lines in here, so it's fantastic to have that. All right, now that I've weeded here, I'm going to add a little bit of manure. I'm just adding a very thin layer because we did add manure into this section in autumn, and then a little bit of dynamic lifter as well. I've got some rock dust to also pop down on this garden as well. I've got a little bit of rock minerals to put down as well. This will eventually mix into the soil. I've already popped some down in autumn, so there'll be plenty of minerals in the soil already. But as every plant takes minerals from the soil, I have to replenish it. So may as well replenish it now. And I've got room here to plant more of my tomatoes. All right, next step is to just put some mulch around these. I've already given them a bit of a water, and as I said before, I'm taking out about a foot of dirt here, so I've just got this here as a reminder not to put the mulch further than there. You can tell it hasn't rained in a while because the soil is quite dry where the drippers aren't, so out here where I'm taking this soil away, it's quite dry. All right, I'm just going to water down the mulch. All right, I'll do the same for the tomatoes over there, give them a watering in, and I'm done for this morning. I have to go and wash my hands and get to work. It's Tuesday morning and I'm out here quite early, not as early as I wanted to be out here though, but I've just pollinated the zucchini and I'm about to pick some flowers, maybe a sunflower, and I'm also going to pick some herbs. I have to reload the dehydrators, so that is my aim over the next few days because we've got 4 consecutive days of hot weather. So we're coming into a heat wave now from Tuesday to Friday. Then thankfully it'll cool down on Saturday and Sunday, and looks like Monday too. So I'm very grateful for the cool days in amongst the very hot days that we're getting at the moment. So I've got my basket and my clippers, and I don't know what I'm gonna harvest. Let's have a look and see. I don't think the basil is ready for harvesting again since I just harvested basil a couple of days ago. I know there's some onions that need to be some spring onions, or rather the Egyptian walking onions that need to be harvested. I do, however, have a freezer full of bags of the spring onions all chopped up that I need to use, but seeing as though the ones in the freezer will survive, but the ones over there, they will eventually want to go to seed, especially in this hot weather. You have to watch the spring onions and the lettuces and all that and make sure they don't sprout and go to seed. Oh, I don't think I can bring myself to cut any of these sunflowers just yet. When these tiny ones down here start to flower, I'll pick those ones. So I'm just harvesting some of these sweet peas to take inside, because the more often I chop them, the more they will flower. Just as I've said before many a times, they want to reproduce. So the more you chop it back, the more it will keep flowering or keep fruiting so that it can repopulate. These smell incredible. The house is going to smell so magnificent. And we're just taking one of this dark, oh, it's like a dark purpley red. Oh, and look at these ones here. These have just started flowering. I don't know if it's the morning light rather than the evening light, but I didn't realize how sort of peachy coloured or apricot-y coloured they are at the start, at the back sort of petals. They're a bit more pinky in the front petals, but they're lovely. Oh, it's getting quite hot in this sun. There we go. I've harvested some of the cornflowers to go with them. Okay, I'm just ducking into the shade here and I'm going to harvest some more dandelion leaves to dry. But I wanted to touch base also about my dandelion flowers that I had in vinegar. So for some reason it started to smell a bit off, a bit moldy. I struggle with the dandelion flowers because they have so much moisture in them. But when you dry them, they start to set seed. I'm not sure why I always struggle with making dandelion flower vinegars. If those out there who have done it before have any suggestions. I originally thought that the apple cider vinegar was making a crust on the top, like a SCOBY type thing, but it really doesn't smell great. So that's a fail, unfortunately. But I do love using the leaves and I love using the flowers in salads and things like that. But yeah, if there's anyone out there that has any tips on how to make a dandelion flower vinegar, please let me know in the comments below. But these dandelion flowers, along with the root that I will harvest in autumn, because that's the best time to harvest the root for medicinal purposes. So I eat the dandelion greens and the root to support my liver. It's a fantastic green to have. Anything that is bitter, any bitter greens are good for the liver. There are all sorts of insects in this thicket of dandelions. There are the blue bottle wasps and there's crickets, there's praying mantis, earwigs, of course. There's probably slaters underneath the stack of leaves all the way at the bottom. Everything's having a lovely time and it's probably nice and cool among this thicket of leaves. Got this beautiful array of different calendulas growing here. They don't tend to open up fully until the sun is truly on them. There's some beauties here to pick. There's about 4 or 5 different varieties here. So there's the yellow ones. This one's a bit old. Here's a good one. So the yellow. Then there's the orange with the dark center. So they're these ones here. And the petals have sort of different shades in them as well. Then there's these ones that have the darker orange on the outside and then the lighter sort of yellowy orange on the inside of the petals. And they sort of crinkle up a bit like these ones do. So this is just what the flower looks like. And then there's what I would call the standard orange ones. And these ones, these are like the Pacific apricot ones. So this one hasn't made as many flowers as the rest. It's quite similar to this one. And then there's some yellow ones that are a little bit sort of lighter, sort of a creamy coloured one. So that's them compared to the yellow. Well, I think I'm going to harvest a little bit more of the dandelion leaves and perhaps some kale as well and dehydrate those and the flowers. But it is getting too hot to be out here, to be honest, and I need to cover up a bit more. My arms are going to get burnt if I stay out here any longer. So I'm going to go inside. I hope you stay cool over this next bit of heat that we're going to have. And I hope you're enjoying the flowers that you are harvesting at the moment. Let me know what you're harvesting from your garden, or if you're still planting anything. I'm pretty much going to be only harvesting a little bit in the morning and watering over the next week because it is too hot to plant anything else out. I'm grateful to have planted out the last of my tomatoes, thankfully, before this heat wave started. Hopefully they do well. If not, oh well. The flies are really starting to bug me now. So I'm going to head inside very soon. See you next time, friends.